kids, welcome back to Roto Talk.
Hey kids, welcome back. It is a happy Sunday. So, apologies for the delay. Let's see, what would we be doing? Last week I had some work projects going on and did some other boat stuff that was non-essential to the channel. Just getting a couple boats ready to do some running because it's supposed to be a decent week this week. Hopefully get some run footage up. And then we had to go to Ohio for a family thing because it was my oldest daughter's 10th birthday, amazingly. So, I have not forgotten about our little tunnel haul. It is clear-coated, sealed, ready for paint as soon as I sand it. It is not sanded, it's just sealed. Okay, perfect. So, what we're going to do now, if you go by the manual, the prototype model that Joe sent me a year ago of this, I never got a chance to build. I gave it to my buddy JJ Horvath, who is also a good friend of Joe, so I didn't think Joe at Zippkits would mind. I gave it to JJ, and he's building it right now, I think. But that one came with an ABS cowl, so a plastic cowl. Mine, I don't know if I got the special edition from Uncle Joe. I appreciate it. I got the fiberglass one. Now, in the manual, it says to do certain things with the ABS, and the ABS has line marks on it and things like that for setting this up. This one does not, so I just have to do it my way, which works out pretty good. It also comes with this, which is your nose piece that goes underneath for your rhinoplasty. Okay, so you can see it fits fairly well into this dealie here. All right, but it needs to actually go this way. Now, I'm going to if you guys get one with fiberglass, maybe follow this video. If you get one with the ABS, follow the directions. Do not do what I'm doing because this one has no marks on it. Okay, so we got to figure out how to make this neat and level. So you can see, need a little trim work. You've got two of these alignment rails. Okay, this bit here goes in the back, and the laser etch points out. Okay. So, essentially, it's going to be hard to see on camera, I'm sure, but so it's going to go similar to that. Okay, and you're going to line this up and line that up. It's going to be hard on this one because fiberglass is hand laid up, whereas ABS is more of an injection cutting thing. So I'm going to have to just make this work. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to fit this ABS nose piece in. Again, if you've got the ABS cowl, follow the manual. Don't do it this way. Because it says it's marked. It's got like scribe lines on it, and it's real easy to do this. The fiberglass one, a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is, I know the nose is going to go there, so I'm not worried about it. I'm going to take a pencil. Now, the nose doesn't go this way. It actually goes the other way, but I'm going to use this to cut that down. Now, a couple ways you can cut this. You can cut it with a Dremel. You can cut it with a knife. I'm probably just going to take it to my belt sander and do it that way, and then we're going to flip it upside down, stick it up into the cowl, and then we're going to glue it in. All right, eventually. But for the time being, I'm going to do that. And I've just got to figure out, I might put a tad, that's WD-40. Super glues. This might be a half-ass video. That's okay. I have not thought about this before I'm doing it. So we're just going to figure out the best way to do it. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a dot. We're going to be cutting this shit off anyway. So I'm going to put a dot of CA here. Dot. Yeah, we'll just do that one first. Okay. Just to hold it. So nothing moves. No biggie. we're going to be sanding this down anyway, so it's not going to hurt anything to have that. But that's going to be our spacer, because what's going to happen is you're going to have basically a tongue. This, see how it's recessed, is going to be the other way. This is just for template. We're going to flip it around so it's flush, and then there's actually going to be a tongue, which is, I don't know, somewhere over here, that's going to, when you slide this onto the boat, it's going to lock in. So that's going to find my depth. Okay? So I can pretty much say, right there, looks pretty accurate. I'm not going to worry about the back. See, the back's longer? I'm going to be trimming that off anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave that in there. And if you look at these guides, this is great, by the way. Every fiberglass cowl I've ever cut for a boat, which is a lot, all of my hydroplanes, tons of stuff, riggers, all that, you have to kind of eyeball it and wing it. He gives you a guide. You glue this into that, and it's great. It works out well. So this guide fits the exact arch of the boat. Okay? So that's going to be really fancy. So what we're going to do is the problem that we face with the fiberglass piece is, you can see this is not even remotely. So we have two options. One, I can level this off as best I can to get a straight edge, which isn't actually that hard to do with a belt sander. A hand sander, pain in the ass. Belt sander, pretty quick, which I think I might do. I might take this back out and just level it off and eyeball it to make sure it's even this way. Okay? And I'm not going to worry about the back at all. You can see looks like a trim line right there where that could go. Looks like, no, that can't be a trim line. That's a hand layup. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this to the belt sander, and I want to get this reasonably even. Then I can take these, and these are going to get CA glued in. You're going to line up that edge there. Well, wrong one. Sorry, I've got a head cold. You're going to line up that edge there, and you're going to line up that edge there, and you're not going to CA glue this. That's just a guide. We're going to snap that off. So we're going to CA glue from there to there. Let me go even this up. I'll be right back. I sanded her down with my trusty belt sander. Is it perfect? Of course not. But it is much, much better. Not totally perfect, but I'm pretty level on the ends. So that's what I'm going to base it off of. Now, what we're going to do, I glued this back in. We are going to CA this like this and give myself a little bit of room. I'm not going to make it 100% accurate because it doesn't need to be. And you can see that is how it needs to be. Okay? So we're going to take some CA glue, and I'm going to clamp this in there just like that. Do not glue this back end. Okay? The back end's going to get cut off. Now again, I'm kind of guessing on how this is done because the instructions talk about the ABS. This is not ABS, this is fiberglass, which I prefer, to be quite honest. But then what we're going to do is this is going to be a template and a stiffener. So these on the sides are going to stay in there permanently. We'll go ahead and epoxy them back in after this is done. I mean, you could epoxy them in now, I suppose. And then we're going to take a Dremel and we're going to carve along this edge, or we can pop it out depending on how you glued it in the first time. With fiberglass, do you really need to keep the stiffener in? Not really, but we will. Okay? So I could, at this point, glue this in hard, I guess. It doesn't really matter. But what we're going to do, just to make sure I'm not being crazy here, I'm going to mark where that cutout's going to be. I'm not worried about the back. I just want to make sure where that thing lands, it's going to be, yeah, it can be all the way up. It can be all the way up. So You could do it this way. So, yeah. So we're just going to line that up. If we do it like that, yes, that makes more sense. All right, so we're going to butt it up against there. We're going to glue this piggy down. Do not CA this part, because that's getting trimmed off. Only this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to CA glue this in. I'm going to clamp it, then I'm going to spray it, and then I'll do the other side. And then we're going to cut the relief out of this, and it's going to be perfect. Hand sand it if you want to, or whatever else, and it should fit this model perfectly, which I'm pretty excited about. I think that's going to be really neat. Okay, so I'm going to do that. We're going to put CA glue along this edge, laser side facing out. This is at the back. Put it just like this, and if this is wrong, I probably should read the manual again, but I think it's all right. And then clamp it, spray it, do the exact same thing with the other side. And if I choose to leave these in, I will. If I don't, I don't. Whatever. But this is fiberglass. The ABS is a lot thinner and whatever. So then what we're going to do, we're going to pop this out, and we're going to sand down this edge, and we're going to flip it around, and we're going to epoxy that in, and our cowl is going to be done. It's going to be pretty sweet. So I'm going to do that real quick. Be right back. Okay, so here's what we did. You get what I did here? See that? Goes right up to the nose, all the way back. I mean, a little spacing there. And then all the way back. This is going to get trimmed off. So pretty much right here is where we're going to cut this off, I'm assuming. Now what I'm going to do, I did trace it with a Sharpie, just in case these pop off, because they are only CA'd right now. Because this is fiberglass, you really don't need these stiffeners in there. The ABS one, I totally get it. But fiberglass and CA glue, not the best combination. Doesn't stick real great. And I did not epoxy them for right now. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a Dremel tool, and I'm going to cut. Now, if you got the ABS cowl, and I'm not sure why I got a fiberglass one. I don't know if this is production or a special thing Joe sent JJ to mess him up. That's fine. Like I said, I prefer fiberglass. But if you have an ABS one, after you get these guides in, you're just going to take a utility knife, and you're going to scribe along this edge 3 or 4 times. ABS, those of you that are used to ABS bodies for RC cars, things like that, this light plastic, this is thicker than that. But you can still cut it with a utility knife. Bend it back and forth a couple times, boom, pops right off. Fiberglass, ain't happening. So we have to cut this, so you have to be a little bit more careful. We're going to use the Dremel tool with a cutting wheel. I would use my high-speed die grinder, which is like 8 trillion, 30,000 RPM, but I think it's too easy to screw up with that. So for this, I'm just going to do a close to the wood edge, and then I'll hand sand it real quick just to flow it out. And then that'll be it. So I did one side, turned out pretty good. Now it still needs to be hand sanded a little bit, but it's not bad. I'm going to do this one on video. Why not? I never hide my screw ups, and I screw up a lot, so why not? Okay. So what I do is I scribe it real fast. Not real fast, but I scribe it. I don't go all the way through. Don't go all the way through, because once you start a track, it's going to follow it. So if you screw up and it digs in a little bit, it's going to really mess you up. So I don't want to have to do any patchwork. So here we go. Hopefully you can see this. Okay. Just scribing it. Okay. Now it's gonna, the second cut will be easier. Done. Bam. Now you can see here I left. It's a little fat, but better fat than thin in this case. This ain't a chick. This is a boat. So I'd rather have this little bit of extra, and we'll just sand it down. You see how quick that was? Bam! Made it look easy. This is thin fiberglass, mind you. This isn't like stupid thick or anything. So now what I would do, I would sand this. Now you can use a Dremel and a sanding drum, something like this, only with a better drum, obviously. Something like this. And what I'll do is I'll just touch it. Just go around and touch it. Okay. Ow, shit the bed. Oh, my fancy new epoxy brushes just fell. Ha! Rain and brushes. How cool is that? Now we can use a little one. Here's a big one. And this is a real fine grit, and it's actually shot. So that's a good thing. Don't use like 10 grit, you know, like Fruity Pebbles shit on here. I did a pretty good job of scribing this, right? So you can see this is probably where I'm going to end up cutting it. But this should fit the boat right now. This should hang over and look like crap, but it should fit. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to touch it, and then I'm going to hand sand it, okay? Just interrupted me. Screwed me up. That's okay. So I have a little bit of a nick there to fix up. Went too deep. Not too bad though. You won't see it. Now this will still need hand sanded. Not a big deal. Let's get rid of these plants. Get us some room up here. Hey, and good news. The R4 electric rigger kit is on its way. It will be here this week. I don't know when the skiff's coming. From the Netherlands. It is not coming from Germany. I thought it was Germany. My mistake. It's from the Netherlands. I cannot wait. They have not sent me anything saying with a tracking number or anything like that. Let's just hope it gets here one piece. All right. So we might be starting that electric rig. So obviously this needs hand sanded. Don't judge me just yet. Okay. And you can see my edge isn't far enough back, but that's okay. That'll work. We can just cut that off right now. So I'm just going to trim this guy down. I will clean this up later, don't worry. I know it looks like I did a Bill Oxidine there. It's all right. All right. And we'll clean her up. Don't worry. She'll look nice. Yeah. We'll hand sand this. We'll make it even on both sides. And you see where it needs to be cut? Now, it can be cut sooner than that. But that line right there is where I'm going to cut. You can see where my transom is coming out. I'm going to cut up that line. Looks like it's even on both sides. So Joe did that on purpose, it looks like. Okay? But that looks good. Got to fix this side up. Sand that down. That's okay. That's a rough cut. You want to hand sand it in. Okay? Rough cut. I'm happy with that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this over to the belt sander. This nose. All we did was CA it. Now these... Let's see. Good CA. All right. Now we're going to sand this down right along these edges. And then we're going to mix up some epoxy, glue it in, and then we're done. We're going to epoxy these in or just take them out. I have not decided yet. You don't really need them with fiberglass. It's going to be a mean looking little boat. All right. So let me go do this real quick. I could do this with a razor blade. Okay. To prove my point. Okay. Cut it with a knife. Does that. But I'm just going to sand it off real quick. It's faster. Be right back. Alright, so now I trimmed off the back a little bit. Just rough sanded it. You can see. Alright. Everything's copacetic. Now what we're going to do, if you look in the manual, it states, maybe, I'm an idiot. There we go. Okay. This is not the right piece, by the way. There's a different piece, but I'm too lazy to dig it out. Same principle. We're going to put this in. See how it's concave? And we're going to go like that. Hopefully y'all can see this. I'm just going to use this piece as the other piece is floating around here. I got to find it. We're going to do this. And I'm going to put it so it's pretty much level. That's touching. That's judging my depth. This is how I'm doing it because it's a little bit different for the fiberglass versus the ABS, and that's okay. All right, so for shits and grins, that's good. I've got good contact there. I'm going to put some CA in here just so it holds this in place. Nothing fancy. Okay. Because we're going to epoxy this in. But I want it to hold. I'm not worried about this right now. So that's going to be your lip. So it's going to lock in there like that. Over the body. Make it as long as you want. You can use any piece of wood, but there is an actual piece of wood that's for this. It's back there in the shop. That's okay. But the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take this off. Okay. Then I'm going to mix up some epoxy. I'm going to leave it just like that. It's staying where it's supposed to. Happy days. Okay. I'm going to mix up some epoxy with some micro balloons, right? Fiberglass powder. That's all this is. All right. And then we're going to mix up the epoxy with that. And then we're going to fill this in so it looks neat. Nice and thick. You could use silicone if you wanted to. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pour foam, a little bit of pour foam in the nose as well. And that's going to give us flotation just in case this thing pops off because we're going to be using Velcro to hold it on. Velcro, never, ever, ever trust Velcro on a boat. Now, you don't have to use Velcro. I'm not even sure if I'm going to. I might use a rubber bands. I haven't decided how I'm doing it yet. But we're going to mix up some epoxy, and we're going to just fill in this gap right along this edge. So this is nice and stout. And I might even brush some on the inside. Then what we're going to do after that, I'm going to hand sand this. I'm just going to get that little, I have a little bit of a nasty right there. I'm going to get that bump out. Hand sand. If you use a finer grit sandpaper, my belt sander's on like 60 grit. Use a 120 or a 220 or something. It'll take this fuzz right off. Okay. And then we'll epoxy this in, make sure it looks semi-decent, which it should. I might epoxy those struts back in. On fiberglass, yeah, I probably will. And we'll put some pour foam in there. Easy enough. Or you can use a pool noodle, whatever you want to do, in that nose. And we're just going to do a nice sand job on there. And then this cowl is finished. Done. Well, you do have to glue the tongue in. Right there. Okay. Easy enough. So what I'll do is just take some epoxy. I'll glue it with epoxy. Put a couple clamps on there. Bada bing, she's done. No big deal. Y'all know how to mix epoxy by now, so I don't need to show you that. So then we are ready to paint. And I'm not sure, well, I still have to sand the boat, the hull down, because I did clear coat it to seal it. I need to scruff that up, prime it, paint it. I haven't decided if I'm just going to paint it or I'm going to hydro dip it, or if I'm going to paint the hull and hydro dip the cowl, or just paint the whole damn thing just so it looks like a normal boat. Because the hydro dip I have has skulls on it, really weird shit. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. You guys tell me what you want to see. If you just want to see a nice paint job with normal decals and look like a normal boat, and we'll go and put all the guts in, let me know. If you want to see some hydro dip, and we might do that too. Either way. So until the next time, kids, you will see the boat sanded at least, if not painted, and this hand sanded out. But again, most of the work's done. This is about 5 minutes worth of work to do, and it'll be done. So, and then you can see here, we actually do have an inset of where the windshield will be. I know it's really hard to see on camera, but you can feel it. So what I will probably do, how do I want to do that? What I will probably do is just do the windshield. I'll paint it, do the windshield, and then cut it with an X-Acto knife around it, and then clear coat it over it. That's probably what I'll do. So until the next time, keep dry side up. Bye.